Hello everyone, I'm back at last. It's been a while. I know I said I would probably make a fourth one if people asked for it. People asked for it and I haven't made one yet. But here it is, the fourth and final part of the argument. I mean, there's no point in not doing this. I came this far, let's wrap it up and tie the finish on this argument. As I have said, it is an argument that ended a while back. It's not continued for a long time, I don't think it will. And yeah, I'll just cover the rest of it and anything that happened since then, which is a certain amount of... Anyway, well, let's get on with it. So we return to the argument between me and TerminalStillness. If you haven't seen the first 3 videos beforehand, you better see them for context of what happened last time, so that you know what was being said last, because we're going to be continuing the argument from where we left off. So if you didn't see like the responses that were said before, then this is going to not make much sense. Now the last comment read was one of mine, so of course next up is the reply from Mike Penna. Proof. How old are you? I don't care that no one else in the community believes them. I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. But then what's the point of the argument? I already gave you a general idea of how I think Replica was made, using evidence from the lore, meaning I made the inference from things that actually happened. I even used science to back up why I feel this way. You make claims of proof from things other people have told you without seeing the proof, then tout it as the one and only truth. There's also no solid evidence that Vanitas and Xion aren't connected. Hearsay doesn't hold up here. It never will. The fact that you tout that sandwich as proof is beyond me. I only made the mistake of using the word proof wrong once. You don't have proof. You have hearsay evidence in which you speculate the truth. I made a one... It sounds like he's talking about himself. Sorry. I made a 1 or 2 mistakes in my delivery of what I wanted to say. Everything else was solid. Now please, get the foxtrot out of my face with that I'm a bigger fan than you bull sugar. You don't know stuff about bad writing. You don't know cinnamon about proof either, apparently. Yeah, wow, it has been a while since we did this. I feel kind of out of place actually. It's been ages and suddenly it's all coming back. These words, hearsay and evidence that he's thrown around time and time again, and again his constant ramblings that I've, never proven anything, and that he's proven everything, and it's all backed up with science. Oh gosh, Kingdom Hearts and science. I've missed doing this. It's good to be back. Alright, let's not talk about that much longer and get on to my reply to that, which is, according to the dictionary, proof. Noun. First definition, evidence sufficient to establish a thing as true or to produce belief in its truth. Second definition, anything serving as such evidence. What proof do you have? Definition 3. The act of testing or making trial of anything. Test, trial, to put a thing to the proof. Definition 4. The establishment of the truth of anything. Demonstration. Definition 5. Law. In judicial proceedings, that's how you say it, right? Judicial. Evidence having probative weight. Hey, what do you know? I was right. Again. Answering my question with the same question kind of proved my point about maturity. So did the temper. I was going to say, his last comment there was kind of ill-tempered, wasn't it? Now, the fact that you don't care that nobody else believes you about this is kind of sad. Almost as sad as the fact that you honestly believe science has any kind of relevance in a series with magic, key swords, monsters of darkness, time travel, Mickey Mouse and Sephiroth. I mean, being the only person in the world who thought the world was flat would really make me question if it wasn't in fact round. You aren't the only intelligent person with an interest in the Kingdom Hearts series. In fact, forgive me, but your behaviour, ignorance, attitude and utter failure to convey an argument have done nothing but give me the opposite impression. If I were you, I'd take it all as a massive hint that I were in fact wrong. Read over my arguments. I know you won't, but it's all I need to say. I have always backed up my strong arguments with evidence from the games to provide... wait for it... proof. And that reminds me, you didn't counter my arguments again. You have unlimited supply of signs of weakness. My arguments have never been based on what someone told me, and constantly saying that won't make it true. I suppose you're referring to the small fraction of evidence that were the official canon justified comments from interviews with the honest series creator Tetsuya Nomura? If so, it's not so much what someone told me as much as what the director explained to everyone. And you call him a liar simply because you don't want to believe him. For shame. But it's okay. You can disregard obvious facts when they're being thrown in your face if you want. It doesn't make you smart, more the opposite really, but you can still do it. And seriously, there's also no solid evidence that Vanitas and Xion aren't connected. That's not an argument. That's not evidence. That's not proof. That's you being desperate. Again. By the way, just for you, I also looked up hearsay. Check it out. Definition 1. Unverified, unofficial information gained or acquired from another and not part of one's direct knowledge. I pay no attention to hearsay. Definition 2. An item of idle or unverified information or gossip, rumour, a malicious hearsay. It's funny, reading that reminds me a lot of your arguments. If you're going to talk trash about my arguments, you need to define why, the way I have done time and time again. You're just words until then. And I never claimed I was a bigger fan than you. I don't have to. Critical hit. And by the way, in case anyone's going to ask, no, as a matter of fact, I don't actually talk like this in real life. It may be on special occasions if I really have something thought through, or if I'm ranting and my brain is, rushing, like it's thinking really fast, then yeah, maybe, but generally no. These comments, especially long, argumentative comments like these that I type, I usually put a lot of time into them, and I'm a bit of an English student. I kind of want to be a writer, so I do work on things like that. I'm wordy. Okay. Anyway, back to Mike Penna. Science and magic are not mutually exclusive. Actually, I just explained that my explanations are circumstantial evidence. Yours is just hearsay alone. You say that Xion is a replica when there's no proof to the fact. You have no factual proof. How do you not understand this? Look, if you're going to talk bull, Sora, at least make it so you actually know how to make a convincing argument. You've honestly been wrong this entire time. You have no idea what words mean. I keep telling you that your arguments are nothing more than the Bible said so nonsense. You're doing nothing to prove that your way is the only way to interpret characters or events in the game. You have no idea how to analyze a narrative, especially a non-linear one. Yes, a non-linear narrative, not a convoluted plot, because those don't exist. Does anyone want to dispute that with him? I would rather sit out this one and see someone else dispute that part. Anyway, I do want to break away here for a second, not because this seems to have turned into a spitting contest and he just is now insulting me constantly and he blooming brought up religion again. Anyway, he said right there, you have no idea how to analyze a narrative. And that gave me an idea just now that I want to bring up right now before I forget it. Video idea. Does anyone want to see me make a video of that? Try to analyze a narrative? Just reading that gave me the idea. I'd quite like to try that. Analyze, say, the Kingdom Hearts narrative. I mean, what else am I good for? Anyway, sorry about that. Thank you, Mike Penna, for the idea, and back to the video. I doubt you can barely even function outside of your house without having an autistic outburst. Aw, thanks. You said he doubted I could barely function. Oh, that's nice of him. I shouldn't have to define what I've already explained with you time and time again. By the way, autism, not funny. I've even tried to make easy for you to understand that what you're showing is hearsay, while mine is making inferences from the actual events in the flipping game. Alright, thanks Mike Penna for that very thought-through, intelligent counter that really tore apart my argument and showed me exactly why and how I was wrong and how he was right. It really opened my mind, that comment. Anyone concur? I concur. Oh well, back to my response. Like I said, yeah, I don't normally talk like this in real life, so when I'm role-playing as myself, that in itself is kind of an act, which is kind of ironic. But let's not get philosophical, we've got an argument to get onto. You just don't get it. Nor do you ever listen. I'm pointing out that science as we know it has little relevance because this is, to be frank, a wacky universe. There is science to some degree, but it has its own rules that aren't all laid out for us to understand. You've displayed poor understanding of even that much. My arguments are neither circumstantial nor hearsay. They are grounded in the facts the games have given us. Your arguments fit the dictionary definition of hearsay. You ought to submit them as examples. I've proven again and again that Xion is a replica, and I will do so as many times as it takes. Axel, Xemnas, Riku, Namine, Xion, Sayax, and even Roxas by the end all acknowledge that Xion is a replica. Often the word puppet is thrown around as well as something that somebody created, and of course, it. But it's made pretty clear they mean replica, using the word enough to get the point across. The secret reports support this argument, as do the Nomura interviews. And then Dream Drop Distance cleared it right up and outright told us that she was a replica in material that existed to help players understand the series. You're going to deny all of that? Being a replica is how she ended up with Sora's memories. To use your logic, there's no proof that replicas can absorb memories, but there's no proof that they can't. The best way I can put it is, you've honestly been wrong this entire time. I've argued loud and clear why Xion is a replica, and you've done nothing to counter the evidence and proof that I've presented, even going so far as to completely ignore it. And you actually think you've been arguing the strongest case of all this time? Come on, it was funny at first, but now it's just depressing. And what are you talking about? You've never made reference to the... Hey, this looks familiar. Hey, we're back where we started. Remember this, guys? Part 1? That was, yeah, who's made the better argument, and then this is me coming up with the idea to involve... Good times. Look at that. Within 10 minutes, I've, finished the argument. There really wasn't much left, but there it is. The end of the argument between me and Mike Penna and TerminalStillness. But yes, I'm sure people are going to say that's not where it ends specifically, so I'll now go on to see what Mike Penna's reply was, and what my reply following that was, and everything that happened since then. But this is basically where we started. This was the argument as it was when we kicked off. So, to go to what Mike Penna said in response to that, he said, "How have you proven she's a replica? Please, enlighten me. You haven't in the case of the world or its inhabitants. Most of what you posted is from unsure people who don't know Xemnas' motives. Zigbur said nothing reassuring about Xion being a replica. He just let Xemnas say what he wanted to let people hear. Involve whoever you want. They'll make the same arguments, and I'll retort with actual facts in the game instead of hearsay journal entries." And that was me taking that for a yes, so... right, hearsay journal entries. Okay. Going back to this argument brings me pain. P.S. I never said, "I'm right, you're wrong." I said, "You're right, I'm wrong." Yeah, but he was being sarcastic. We all know he was. He knows he is. He's just being annoying. Also, hearsay. An item of idle or unverified information or gossip. Rumour. All of Xemnas' and Vexen's claims are unverified. All they are journals making no exact reference to her creation, as it's just saying, "I created Xion." I could claim that I created a flipping cure for cancer, but without definitive, factual proof, I'll always be bull serious. I know Repliku is a replica because he looks like Riku, and Riku hasn't ever been turned into a Heartless. There's more, but who cares? As you can see, he's still handling this in a very mature and intelligent way. I'm actually kind of proud of the guy. Anyway, yeah, that's us completely back up to speed, and that was the last comment posted before the video was, the first video was posted. So, of course, my response was, that included a link to the video. So, I continued with one last main reply before other people got involved, thanks to the video and the comments on the video, and I said, "I took that as a yes. It's already done. You can watch it here." And then there was a link, a Kingdom Hearts internet argument with TerminalStillness. Mate, when you see a spade, you call it a spade. Every character's testimony is as certain as they can possibly be, and there is no other explanation. You've gone so far as to claim the secret reports of the journal entries are hearsay. They're not. They're the most factual things in the whole series, and the entire purpose of their existence is to provide backup information to help the players understand everything. The difference is that Xion existed as a replica that absorbed Sora's memories. There's no reason to doubt that. To again use your logic, just because Xemnas and Vexen don't back it up doesn't mean they can't. Whereas, if you were asked to cure cancer, indeed you could not. You forget that Kingdom Hearts is a video game series, not just a narrative. There are times when Donald and Goofy hand Sora the ability to dodge roll, when Chip and Dale tell him to press buttons on the PlayStation controller to build gummy ships, and when organization members take Roxas out on missions where they blatantly tell him how to work the mechanics of 358/2's Days gameplay. The fourth wall isn't as thick as other mediums, and the journal entries and secret reports are part of that pile. They have a vague or simple reason for being in the Kingdom Hearts universe that is accepted and passed over, all being a cover for their true purpose. To inform the player. If you won't accept that as evidence, why should I accept anything you say at all? Never mind the disconnected sentences you like to call evidence. Your entire argument lately consists of nothing but "I'm right, you're wrongs" in the form of self-praise and baseless insults of my side. At least when I do it, I have a point. If there's a hole in my logic, point it out. If my counter was wrong, explain why. You never justify your arguments, so why do you expect me to take them seriously? Especially when you don't even pay attention to most of my arguments. So here's a fun one. How do you explain Xion being a girl if she's Vanitas and Vanitas is a guy? Yeah, obviously that last question was a bit of a joke. Anyway. This argument takes years off you. Now, I gotta say that some of these posts here are like the posts from here on are ones I've only really read like the once. Like I didn't go back to screen cap a lot of these, so I'm only doing so recently. And what I'm basically saying is some of this is kind of new to me. I've kind of forgotten about this. So this is Mike Penner's reply, which is the last fully fledged reply, the last actual part of the argument between just me and him in this argument. It's the end of an era, folks. I'm almost tearing up here, but here it is. When you see a spade, you call it a spade. You mean you do, but the spade you see can be a complete mirage. I have no idea what he's talking about there. I never said they can't back it up, and they won't. I'm saying they haven't, and that gives me reason to doubt. Yeah, but that's not certain, so you have to accept the possibility that they can. You make references to the game in which the characters have no insight into their own creation. They're going off what they're experiencing. Then you tout that as a way to prove your evidence. But it's not solid. If somebody says they were abducted by an alien because they were indoctrinated to believe so, you'd call them crazy. I don't know what he's proving here. Under no certain terms, even after she learns the truth about herself, does she say, I'm a replica built to steal your powers, Roxas. She said, this is why I was made. It's that vague for a reason. Namine didn't make any reference to Xion being a replica either. She referred to Xion as a person. She said Sora's nobody, and the one who's been absorbing his memories. Never did Namine make reference to Xion being a replica. Okay, part of this I do actually understand. I want to break off to quietly explain to some people who might be reading this and thinking, this guy's completely crazy. No, there is a certain thread of logic I have to back up for this guy, if someone has to. He's been explaining since the beginning, or trying to explain since the beginning, that he thinks all of this is a red herring, and as a narrative trope, that everything we've been learning so far is a lead-up to trick us into thinking that it's this when it's actually something else. Unfortunately, the evidence is immensely stacked against him, so this isn't a valid theory, but it's still a theory he's trying to tout as fact, and that's where my biggest issue comes with when it comes to him. So when he's saying this, he's trying to point out that this is all evidence to the fact that she's not a replica, and it's actually part of the red herring that's part of the big conspiracy, and ignoring the obvious parts of the argument that I'm making, saying, well, actually the journals of the game say flatly that she is a replica. Nomura himself says that she is a replica, and if they were building up to that, they would keep it even more vague than that. But anyway, the point I wanted to make was, he's trying to argue all of this as part of a narrative trope, that it's all part of the red herring, but I'm realizing here that he's interpreting this because of another narrative trope that's actually in play here, which is withholding information. Of course, in Days, Xion is a replica, and there are times when people don't explicitly call her a replica, but that's not because she isn't a replica, it's because they don't want to give away to the player that she is a replica. So other narrative tropes are in play here that he's misinterpreting and connecting in his own loose, jarred, jilted way that explain to him that Xion is in fact not a replica. It's wild and it's a crazy theory, and he doesn't understand that it's not fact. Sure, we get it, but there is a certain logic to it, and that is the games set the player up so that they don't know that Xion is a replica until certain points in the story, like this certain moment when it's revealed by like Axel and then Xemnas, Xion is a replica. All along she has been a replica. And the player goes, oh, wow, alright. Is that aha moment that the game holds back from you throughout the game. There are tons of times when Sayax could have just said to Axel, Xion doesn't belong with us because she's a replica. Or Axel reading a book goes, oh, Xion's a replica. Or, any point, and throughout the game someone could have told Roxas that Xion is a replica, and characters discussing Xion could have called her a replica outright, but they don't, because they don't want the player to figure that out just yet. They don't want the player to find out about that just yet. In short, he's basically seen the game try to hold back the twist that Xion is a replica and assume that the reason it's holding it back is because she's not a replica, not because they didn't want the player to find out that she's a replica yet. So it is essentially a giant misunderstanding. Don't you love Kingdom Hearts for giving us moments like these that turn into something like this? I mean, look at us. We're in the 4th video and we're already 20 minutes in. We're getting on with this. All right, back to his comment. I say that Axel was questioning the validity of what he was told because he was so sure about Xion being a replica. Then he goes on later to say, something about this just stinks. Everybody always thinks they're right, referring to even himself, questioning the validity of what he believed before because he'd believed that she was a replica before he was even told by Xemnas. Granted, he basically says, you're not a replica to me, but at the last encounter he really started to question it further, as more than just something you say. And for the love of Mickey Mouse, again, to bring that little funny euphemism up, I argued this. We've been over this. He's using the same arguments again. And the reason he brings this up is because, if you remember my last comment I just told you about, I posted a link to the video. He's gone and watched the video and has basically commented on the video here. What he's doing is he's bringing up all these old arguments, even the ones that I, rebuked way earlier in the argument, back in the first video here. It's like the most passive-aggressive way of attacking, everything that's happened so far and trying to, keep the argument alive on his side, I guess. I don't know, I just want to say, it really annoys me. I guess that's kind of an obvious thing to say, but it really annoys me. Xion says, I'm a replica created by somebody, merely after the fact that Axel told her she was. You said she wasn't made to copy Roxas's memory, when Xemnas contradicts your very statement when he says, the purpose was to take a piece of the Keyblade wielder's memory and copy it. You and the rest of the KH fandom take small pieces of the canon and use it to your own advantage, then ignore whatever you don't like when it argues against your logic. I swear, it's like he's talking about himself, but just takes out the words, the personal words like I and me and myself, and replaces it with like you and the Kingdom Hearts fandom. That is exactly what he's been doing, isn't it? Oh my goodness. This guy's a puzzle. You say Xion was built to copy the Keyblade wielder's power and don a Keyblade of her own, yet the canon says that no one can don a Keyblade unless they were blessed with the right of succession, but as a copy. The canon also says the Keyblade chooses its wielder, but coupled together that's contradictory, until you get to the fact that Ventus is in Sora's heart. How is that contradictory? Because you don't necessarily need the right of succession to wield the Keyblade. That's just the generally given explanation as to how you get one. So, it's just him not understanding the Kingdom Hearts series fully, which no one would blame him for, but in this case, he's taken it to a whole new level. You also said Repliku doesn't have a Keyblade, but he has everything Riku had in his tenure venturing in the darkness, then the place in between. Why wouldn't he have a copy of the Keyblade Riku has? Because Riku didn't have a Keyblade at that point! In Chain of Memories, Riku did not have a Keyblade. He had, the Keyblade he took from Sora, which was of course originally his, but he lost that Keyblade, so he didn't have that Keyblade when the Repliku was made. How is this so hard? Why am I losing my temper? This is an argument ages ago, and who am I kidding? I love to argue. Sorry, guys. Anyway, it doesn't make sense that Xion was somehow conveniently created to steal Roxas's memories to don a Keyblade, as even the canon argues the fact that no one who hasn't been given the right of succession can just don one. It's a copy, for goodness sake. Not whoever hasn't been given the right of succession can't don a real Keyblade, but a fake one is completely alright when the entire point of the right of succession was to be rid of fake Keyblades mostly used in the Keyblade War. No, where did this come from? I get he's assumingly referring to the fact that somewhere, I think in Dream Drop Distance, it was said in a journal entry or a glossary entry or something, that Keyblades were made by men, or some, I don't remember. Can anyone help me out here, actually? It's something I know and I'll find it eventually, I'm sure, but it's just something I remember as being said somewhere in the Kingdom Hearts series. If anyone could help me remember this. Where is it said that in the Keyblades were created by men, modelled after the original Keyblade? I think it was Dream Drop Distance, but it might have been Birth by Sleep. Anyway, somewhere it says that, and he's taking that to mean that those Keyblades made were fake ones, even though the very right of succession, the passing of the power that he's talking about and claims to know so much about, is actually the process of creating those same Keyblades that he's calling fake. This is a case of, again, misunderstanding, and I guess, it's not his fault for misplacing that, but that's something I want to draw attention to, because I can understand if anyone else falls into that mistake of believing that, and I would like to explain to him the truth of that, but again, it's been a while. Anyway. Then the canon also hints, unless they're connected to one of the Keyblade Masters somehow, so by those inferences, you'd have to make the deduction that she's not actually a replica. Okay, so there's him fully explained his logic as to how Xion is not a replica. And that's because she can't possibly have a keyblade, because it can't be a fake keyblade, because fake keyblades were done away with thanks to the right of succession. Even though those fake keyblades are real keyblades, and the real keyblades are just created out of the right of succession. That's how they're made, that's just how they happen to be created. And there's no reason why there shouldn't be a fake keyblade. There's no reason why a fake keyblade couldn't be possible. And the fact that Repliku had all of Riku's aspects but not a keyblade, hence that replicas can't possibly create replica keyblades, even though Riku didn't have a keyblade at the time, so there's no reason for Repliku to have a keyblade, and therefore if Xion was made to replicate a keyblade wielder, then she should fairly have a fair chance of creating a fake keyblade, because nothing contradicts that. Case closed! Right, sorry. And he finishes his comment with, "Look, I'm done explaining why I feel the way I do, and you're not going to change my mind, sadly. You never call a spade when it's coupled with things that'll make it more than just a spade." It's trying to take that metaphor that I took from somewhere. I'm not even sure where I got that little metaphor from, but it's trying to take it and make it bigger than it actually is. Oh, this has been a very long argument. So after that, a lot of stuff happened. See, after the first video, a couple of people actually joined in and jumped in to help out, or rather just to take part, rather. And those two people are Urias Millet and Zane Mooney. These two guys decided to join in after the first video, and after that comment by Mike Penna, they took part in a bit of a comment argument with him for a few comments, and I have read through them all, but well, let's face it, we don't want to go through like all of that, do we? You don't want me to, you know, read all of those comments by all of these people, 3 distinct voices, which I wouldn't mind doing actually. It's fun, I gotta say, it's fun. But yeah, look, in summary, Urias Millet, he was with me back when Mike Penna first came onto one of my videos, you know, when I first met TerminalStillness in the first place, when he came onto my What is Kingdom Hearts video and was throwing around his weird theories in the first place. And Urias Millet was there at the time, and he joined in with the arguments against him because, you know, we saw it and I thought, it's nonsense. And yeah, he's here. He comes here and he has a bit of a back and forth with Mike Penna, and then Zane Mooney shows up and he sympathises a little bit with TerminalStillness. He's kind of neutral. Honestly, he kind of stays out of it a bit, but also throws in his insight here and there. And he basically doesn't comment as much as Urias Millet and Mike Penna do. And by the way, Urias Millet is a really cool guy, and Zane Mooney has a really cool name, and he's also a really cool guy. And Urias Millet is also a cool name too. I don't want to show favoritism, but anyway, so they get into an argument about various things. There's to summarize it, it's like arguing about, well, the argument that we've had, this whole argument that I've had with them so far, as well as little other issues with the Kingdom Hearts series. Things like, you know, the Keyblade of People's Hearts, the one with all the princesses' hearts in them. Mike Penna argues that it's not that way, and they talk about Kingdom Hearts, you know, the Kingdom Hearts that we saw in Kingdom Hearts 1 and what they all think it is. Interesting. It's actually a very interesting discussion they had. It just ended up, like, I saw it and I thought, there's a mistake, there's a mistake, there's a mistake. That's quite cool, and it's like a good conversation, even though it had little flaws in it. I don't want to insult this because it's so nice. It was actually kind of charming towards it. Like, it stopped being hostile and more, it showed a bit more camaraderie towards the end of it. Eventually, I replied with this comment, and on this comment I will end the video because this is where the argument ended. Since then, there have been no comments after that, apart from this one person who showed up and said they wanted to make fan art about this war, which I'll get to after this comment. But basically, since this comment, nobody has commented. The argument ceased. Everybody stopped. Everything ended. So this is how it all came to end. Hey guys, I see we're all getting along. That's lovely. I've read all the comments, and it's all very good, but I need to make a few corrections if everybody's okay with that. Right? Great. Let's get started. Mike. Repliku didn't have a keyblade because Riku didn't have a keyblade at the time, as I said earlier. Yeah, I got onto that. Xion's keyblade was not a real keyblade, so she doesn't need the right. That's why Riku calls it a sham. Data Sora also wielded a fake keyblade, and he didn't need the right. Ventus is not Roxas. You described Ventus's role in Birth by Sleep, but you called him Roxas. That was Ventus, not Roxas. You did that too at one point, Zane. Millet was describing the specific keyblade of people's hearts used by Ansem Riku in Kingdom Hearts 1 to unlock Maleficent's heart, fight Sora and unlock Sora's heart. And that keyblade indeed was made up of the princess's hearts. Leon said as much afterwards, and we clearly see the princess's hearts exit it after its destruction. Xehanort mentions that type of keyblade in his reports. No other known keyblade has hearts in it, excluding the keyblade, which is practically its own category. So you agree with me that Vanitas' battle with Ven took place after his fight with Aqua. The exact quote is, "Our union was not finished." I take the "was" to infer that he's just coming out of his battle with Aqua and lost, which he's blaming on the state of their union. That's what I think and why. I honestly don't really mind if you disagree about this, because it's actually reasonable to debate that. Terranor locked his heart in some way, incapacitating himself. He didn't become a Heartless. And he clearly used Xehanort's keyblade to do it, the same regular keyblade Master Xehanort's always used. The other 6 Princesses of Hearts were not inside Kairi. They were inside the keyblade Rikunort used. Nowhere has it ever been said otherwise. The glossary entry to Dream Drop Distance confirmed this, even after Kingdom Hearts 1 itself did. The nature of the princess's power is not entirely clear, but once already their hearts have been stolen to create an entrance to Kingdom Hearts and a so-called Keyblade of Heart. Xehanort was the one who unlocked Aurora's heart. He all but admits this to Brig in Radiant Garden later on. The entire event with Maleficent was set up to disorientate Terra, and there's a difference between unlocking someone's heart and releasing it. Only Keyblades of Heart can do the former. Any Keyblade in the hands of a powerful enough wielder can do the latter. The Keyblade that was forged by the 7 princesses already existed from a Keyblade that Terra had 10 years earlier. You know what, I'm just going to ask you to prove this statement. Door to Darkness. The term we're all looking for is Door to Darkness. These guys were talking about the Door to Darkness and no one called it the Door to Darkness, so I called it the Door to Darkness. It's cool to see you getting along with people. I honestly wish one of those people were me. Uraeus. It's good to see you, man. Mike was talking about Xehanort's current plan earlier to make another Keyblade, properly this time out of 7 Lights and 13 Darknesses, with the 13 Darknesses being his own organisation. He tried to make one before with just Ven and Vanitas, but it failed, so he's going for a more successful attempt in Kingdom Hearts 3. I wouldn't really want to argue either way about whether there's only one Keyblade, because it seems you only need one. Xehanort's been after it the whole series via attempts to make it. The fact that he's trying to forge it implies there could be more than one, but again, I don't think it's a point that matters that much. Zane? The Door to Darkness isn't a false door to Kingdom Hearts, it's more like a real door to a false Kingdom Hearts. It was a gateway into the realm of darkness, at least, and sealing it restored all the world's hearts used to make it being the false Kingdom Hearts behind it. I'd also say we don't really know for sure how much power a Keyblade of People's Hearts has, because there's never been one around for that long. Cool name, by the way. Anyway, I need to mention the video. Mike, everybody's taken my side. Not because of me, not because of what they think is right, but because of the arguments. People have agreed I make a stronger case and present it better, as well as displaying a greater understanding of the series. That's the issue. I hate to break up this peace talk with reference to our argument, but that's why it has to end. Break the cycle. I know how strongly you believe you're correct. Again, I must say I will never fault you for being stubborn, so I'm not asking you to admit I'm right. Kingdom Hearts 3 will resolve this one way or another. I'm only asking you to drop the argument. Fair enough? And I apologise for any time I insulted or offended you during the argument. That was wrong, and it was never my intention. I think you're intelligent, you know. I think your intelligence is misplaced, but I truly believe you're clever. I wish you all the best. And that's how an argument dies. I think it came to a very peaceful, happy conclusion in the end. Everybody got a happy ending, I think. As I said, no one replied to that, so that's how it all reached an game over point. After that, someone called Aditera Arisgara replied with, "Now I really want to make a fan art about this. The official versus science war. Maybe would feature both of you with Xion saying, 'I am me,' and Vanitas saying, 'I am you,' respectively." And I replied saying, "I'm you. No, I'm me. I'm me," he says. "Must be nice being real. A fake like me could never get away with saying that." Riku replica. That's just me quoting a moment from reverse rebirth. Seriously though, I would love to see that. How would you draw us? Daxter versus a generic YouTube avatar? They replied, maybe. Haven't planned it yet. So yeah, that was a interesting, I guess, tangent from the whole thing. I don't even know what to call that. It's just kind of out of nowhere. But yeah. Anyway, that's how it's resulted. That's how it's all ended. That is the end of the argument. We have come so far and tried so hard, but in the end, it didn't even matter. So that's how it ends. I don't know if you find that satisfying or not. Feel free to comment about it below and what you thought of it. And by the way, I'm sorry this is late, but I've been kind of busy. I will be busy. I'm not sure if I'll get this out in time for this weekend, but if I do, I'm going away for another week, likely without internet connection. I'm sorry I keep doing this, but yeah, that's going to happen. So just fair warning, I might be away for a bit, and that's why. So you guys are great. Thanks for the support on this, but it's really over now. Don't think there's going to be any more replies, any more response. The argument's finished. Finite. Done. But thanks for watching. Thank you for being who you are, and don't stop being who you are. And this has been great, honestly. I don't mind doing this. It's been a long event though. I get that feeling, you know, do you know that feeling when something's over and you're so glad it's over, but you kind of miss it. You kind of wish you could go back to it. That's me in internet arguments. It's just a bad habit, a bad addiction, you know. Anyway, that's